Superdome, packed to the rafters with some of the noisiest and most raucous fans in the league. For Mark Sanchez, the rookie quarterback of the New York Jets, who are 3-0, they will be a challenge. And so will the New Orleans Saints, led by veteran quarterback Drew Brees, who also has his club out to a 3-0 start. Hi everyone, welcome to New Orleans. Along with my Hall of Fame partner Dan Deerdorf, I'm Greg Gumbel. Some fans like offense, others love the great defense. In this game, there should be a little of everything to please everyone. Dan, let's start with that great defense on the green and white.
You make a good point, Greg. And when you talk about the Jets defensively, it's really the perfect recipe to protect a young quarterback. Play strong defense, good special teams. This defense, they've just carried over the same scheme that Rex Ryan brought from Baltimore. He calls all the defenses himself. The key stat, forget all the yardage and stuff, only giving up 11 points a game.
And when you talk about an offense that lights up the scoreboard, that's the New Orleans Saints.
Yes, they, on the other hand, are averaging 40 points a game. And they've got the right guy running the show in Drew Brees. And he's got gifted receivers. He's got a good running game. Guys like Reggie Bush, Pierre Thomas exploded on there last week with $1.25. But it all rests on number 9. Let's see how he handles the Jet pressure today.
This is going to be a terrific football game, and it comes your way, as usual, in high definition. The New Orleans Saints have won the toss, and they will receive. That's Courtney Roby, the fourth-year man out of Indiana, at his own goal line. Jay Feely ready to kick it away. And we are underway in New Orleans. This is Roby, a yard deep in the end zone. And out of bounds just short of the 25-yard line. Coming into the action today, no one in the National Football League had thrown more touchdown passes than Drew Brees. He led the league with 9 as the day began. His 69.1% completion rate, number 2 in the NFL.
Well, Sean Payton calls the plays. He and Drew Brees, since the day they got here together in 2006, talk about two guys in sync. What a combination they make.
Line of scrimmage in New Orleans 24 as the Saints offense gets underway. With a handoff to Pierre Thomas. And David Harris made the stop. Let's check the offensive line. Injuries have moved Zach Street to a starting role at left tackle. Nix, Goodwin, Evans, Stinchcomb complete the front line. Reggie Bush, the primary running back. Marcus Colston leads the league in TD catches with 3 starting today. Jeremy Shockey, the tight end. And this is Robert Meacham, wide receiver. First down, yardage, and out of bounds across the 35.
Well, it's always been a good change of pace against a team defense that has great speed is misdirection. And you can see that there was some confusion there for the Jets defensively. They were having trouble getting into the proper alignments. They were still discussing who was going where, and the quick snap and the end around to Meacham kind of caught them looking.
First down, New Orleans at their own 37.
Hey, down right.
Brees out of the shotgun. Throwing to the far side of the field, Reggie Bush with the catch. And out of bounds. And let's check the New York Jets 3-4 defense. Up front, Sean Ellis, Chris Jenkins, Marcus Douglas. The linebackers, Byron Thomas, Bart Scott, David Harris, and Vernon Golson. For a second straight week, Dwight Lowry replaces injured Lito Shepherd at cornerback. Revis, Rhodes, and Jim Leonard complete the secondary.
Greg, you can search the NFL. You won't find a better pair of inside linebackers than Harris and Scott.
On second to the 6th, and gives to Bush, and Bush across the 45 and appears to have enough for a first down. There's Sean Payton. First time coaching against the New York Jets as a head coach in his 4th season here in New Orleans. The NFL Coach of the Year back in '06, his rookie year here in New Orleans. And there is Rex Ryan in his first season as head man of the New York Jets.
Hey,
First down, New Orleans. They've moved out to their own 47-yard line. Quick pass, far side. That's complete to Bush. Looking for running room and finds none. That may go as a no gain.
Well, you can see here that the Saints are moving the chains on their opening drive, and they are no strangers to doing that. Week 1 against the Lions, Colston with a touchdown pass. Week 2 against the Eagles, there they finish it off with a touchdown. And here they go last week up in Buffalo as Hamilton gets in. Check that out. That's why they haven't trailed anybody all season.
They don't know what it's like to be behind in the game. Reed with time. And drops it off to Pierre Thomas. And Thomas into Jets territory across the 45 to about the 43.5 where Bart Scott made the tackle.
I'm not sure how many people Drew Brees checked out before he decided to dump it off, but he was in the rocking chair. He had a lot of time back there. He went through his progression, didn't find anybody. Great pass protection by the New Orleans offensive line.
So it's 3rd and a short 1. Pierre Thomas and Heath Evans are in the backfield. Brees will give it to Thomas. Thomas will get the first down and more. Inside the 40 to about the 36-yard line of the New York Jets.
Well, Pierre Thomas had 126 yards in the second half of the game last week up in Buffalo. And take a look at the nice hole. He's got great lead block by Heath Evans, and ultimately ends up tripping over his own guy. See, he gets a nice block there on the outside by Dave Thomas, but he followed number 44 right into the hole. Well executed.
He got enough for the first down. It's a first down for the Saints at the Jet 36. Bush back into the backfield. The fake to him. Brees with time, and that one's complete inside the 35 to the 32-yard line. Devery Henderson, his first catch of the day.
Well, you can see that early on here, the Jets are dropping people back. They're only rushing 4, and Drew Brees is having trouble finding anybody open downfield. He's having to settle for a check down. Now, if you want to test his patience, you got a long day, because Drew Brees is a very patient quarterback. He will work the deep routes, but he will always find somebody short.
2nd and 5, and now Pierre Thomas back into the backfield. Brees a perfect 4 for 4, and now 4, 5 for 5, and Devery Henderson on the slant has a first down to the Jet 22.
Boy, it's almost like Sean Payton knew that the Jets were going to come off the edges, because the perfect pattern for a blitz off the edges is the quick slant. The hardest route for the corner to defend when he's locked up in man, which is exactly what Lowry was there. That was anticipated and called well by Sean Payton.
Jets defense, no opening drive touchdowns over their last 11 games. This is Thomas. Stacked up in the 20, and a late flag comes flying in from referee Bill Levy.
Boy, nice work by Chris Jenkins on the nose.
Holding, number 76 offense. 10-yard penalty, repeat first down.
Well, that's Jonathan Goodwin, the center, and I think he was trying to block Chris Jenkins, which is a man-sized task.
Jonathan Goodwin was drafted by the New York Jets in the 5th round back in '02.
Where did he go to college?
I believe he's a Michigan Wolverine.
I believe he is.
Does that make a difference to you?
Well, no, it's just. Oh, there it is, Michigan. That's right.
1st and 20. This is Heath Evans. And Evans to about the 26.5-yard line. David Harris with the tackle.
Well, this is just methodical on the part of the Saints. And again, you can see that was a patient play call, not trying to get it all back after suffering the penalty yardage. But this is an interesting down and distance here now. Peyton versus Ryan. Who's going to do what?
6-minute drive for these New Orleans Saints. On 2nd and 14 to give us to Bush. Turning the corner. 20. Out of bounds just shy of the 15-yard line.
That's how you keep a defense off balance. You know, you got 1st and 20, you run the ball, then you got 2nd and 15, and you run it again. And you can see the Jets weren't prepared for it. Looked like Bart Scott might have been held on the edge, and that's how the Saints got around to the outside. They were lucky there wasn't a yellow flag flying, but there wasn't, and it was successful.
Here's a big 3rd and 4 for the Jet defense. Twelfth play of this drive. Breeze. Drifting, throwing, corner of the end zone, incomplete. Reggie Bush, the intended receiver, and that was Kerry Rhodes who came flying in.
And Drew Brees really tried to fit this into pretty tight coverage by the New York Jets.
And for the first time all season, the Saints failed to score a touchdown on their opening drive. So far, field goal unit is on the field.
That's just outstanding. Kerry Rhodes comes across, gets his left hand on the ball.
This is John Carney, and he lines this one up from 34 yards out.
The aged one.
In his 21st season, Carney puts it up and through the uprights. 8:06 to play in the first quarter. 3-0 Saints. Mark Sanchez will get his hands on the football when we come back. Drew Brees on the sideline as he engineered a 13-play, 60-yard drive, finishing up with a John Carney field goal. That is Leon Washington. Special teams have been a real plus for the New York Jets in this early season. And this is Washington. He will not run it out of the end zone. And Mark Sanchez onto the field when we come back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Go to southwest.com. Grab your bag. It's on. Verizon Wireless, America's largest mobile-to-mobile calling family. And by the all-new Taurus from Ford. Drive one.
It's a big road test today for Mark Sanchez. 3-0 as a rookie starter. 4 TD passes, 1 rushing touchdown, 2 interceptions. He starts at his own 20-yard line. And the quick pass, the slant, that's complete. And Dustin Keller is hit hard after about a 5-yard gain. A steady offensive line for the Jets. Ferguson, 8-time Pro Bowler Alan Faneca, who grew up here in New Orleans, Mangold, Moore, and Damian Woody. Sanchez distributing the ball well among Cotchery, Keller, and Stuckey. Thomas Jones, a pair of rushing touchdowns so far this season. Leon Washington now in the backfield. And Washington going to get the direct snap. Well, Sanchez comes back over now. On 2nd and 5, quick pass, complete the other way. And that's a first down to Jericho Cotchery. Out across the 35 to the 36. The Saints 4-3 defense. Grant and Will Smith outside. Cedric Ellis joined by Remy Adele, who starts for injured Kendrick Clancy. The ex-New York Jet Jonathan Vilma, the middle linebacker, flanked by Scott Fujita and Scott Shanley. In the secondary, Greer and Porter, the corners. The veteran Darren Sharper, the Saints interception leader. Roman Harper, their leading tackler. And the give is to Thomas Jones. And Jones pulls his way to the 40-yard line. And things getting a little chippy early on.
Well, right off the bat, let's give some kudos to Brian Schottenheimer, the offensive coordinator, who opens up the game with the Saints stacking the line of scrimmage, overplaying the run, and letting Mark Sanchez throw the ball on the first 2 plays of the game. Sometimes you got to reach a point where he's no longer a rookie. He's just our quarterback. That was a smart way to start the game.
On 2nd and 7, this is Thomas Jones. Jones, no place to go.
And it's pretty obvious how the Saints are really trying to take away the running game by just overloading the line of scrimmage.
We have a penalty marker down. Here's Bill Levy.
After the play was over, personal foul, number 22 defense. Slugging the defender in the back of the head, 15-yard penalty, first down.
That second-year cornerback Tracy Porter.
Well, take a look at this right here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and these guys are going to walk up and get closer. There they come. And again, that is just, look at that. Sharpers standing on the line of scrimmage before the ball carrier even gets there.
That penalty moves the ball into New Orleans territory. It's first down for the Jets now at the Saints 45. Now the Jets spread the field. Sanchez, this time over the middle to it behind his intended receiver, Brad Smith.
And you can see right now Mark Sanchez talking to Brad Smith. He was expecting Smith to do something different. I think he was waiting for him to just sit down instead of continuing to drift towards the middle, because Brad Smith was wide open, but you could tell by Sanchez's body language going right up to Brad Smith, and they were talking about a complete miscommunication.
And we get a timeout. Looks like the Jets used their first timeout. Brian Schottenheimer wants to talk to somebody. We'll be right back. October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. The NFL and NFL players, in collaboration with the American Cancer Society, are running a national screening reminder campaign. Visit NFL.com/pink to learn more. And if you've been watching football at all today, you know a lot of the players, along with coaches and officials, highlighting this important message, wearing pink cleats, wristbands, gloves, sideline caps, helmet decals, patches, sideline and quarterback towels, pink rubber pins. Second and 10. The Jets at the Saints 45. Play fake to Leon Washington. Sideline pass is complete inside the 40 to Jericho Cotchery.
Well, that was a nice open field tackle by Jabari Greer. He's locked up one-on-one with Cotchery. Gets a good jam on him, gets up there, but can't do much about it. Good throw from Sanchez. That time the Saints playing corner man with just a single free safety back in the middle. That's because, again, they had 8 guys up on the line.
First third down opportunity of the day.
Look how many Saints are within 4 yards of the line.
To the throw for it on the slant, complete and dropped. Cotchery had it and dropped it. Jabari Greer was on it.
Well, 10 guys on the Jets offense did what they had to do. Watch this throw from Mark Sanchez. Absolutely right there. And actually, Greer was on him early. That could have been illegal contact and interference. Greer had his hands on Cotchery's shoulders before the ball got there and affected his ability to catch the ball. That should have been flagged.
Reggie Bush is deep. And a kick from Steve Weatherford, who hangs it up high. It bounces and rolls, and the Jets try to down it, and they do inside the 5-yard line. Good special team play by the New York Jets. Jason Trusnick downs the football. New Orleans on offense after this.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Bud Light, with the just right taste that's not too heavy, not too light. The difference is drinkability. And by Lipitor.
Saints begin from their own 4-yard line. 12 offensive plays. They've thrown it 6 times and run it 6 times. The give is to Thomas. Wrapped up all the way down to the 1-yard line by Bart Scott.
There haven't been many free agent signings, and there have been some good ones this year in the NFL that have paid off more than Bart Scott joining the New York Jets. so important, not just in the quality of his play, and I think the Jets fans have to be thrilled with that, but what he's meant in terms of helping all his teammates understand what Rex Ryan is demanding and asking of them in this defense, along with Jim Leonard, two really key additions to this Jets defense in many different ways.
Loss of 2, second and 12, out of the zone, end zone, the pass across the 5 to about the 6 to the tight end, Jeremy Shockey, his first catch of the day.
And with a banged-up Jets secondary, you know that Darrelle Revis is going to be on Marcus Colston, but there's got to be some room for Jeremy Shockey in the middle and on a lot of the underneath stuff.
Now here's one example of what Mark Scott was telling us last night, Dan. Is they're not happy with the fact that they haven't been able to get off the field on third down as often as they'd like.
It's a bugaboo for every defensive team in the league. They hate to see those chains get moved.
And Drew Brees calls a timeout. New Orleans burns its first timeout here in the first half. We'll be right back.
You're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 44.
Well, the New England Patriots have knocked off Baltimore 27-21 in the ever-competitive AFC East. The Jets looking to stay ahead with a victory here. Otherwise, they'd fall into a 3-1 tie atop the division with New England, and they travel, the Jets do, to Miami for a Monday nighter next week.
Although the Jets do own a victory over New England.
3rd and 7. Trees under pressure. On the move, throws. It's incomplete out at the 15-yard line. Devery Henderson's intended receiver. And so the Jets do get off the field on third down as New Orleans about to kick the ball away.
Well, what the Jet defenders have to realize is, unlike Kerry Collins last week, Eric Smith just found it out there, and Tom Brady the week before, Drew Brees is a very elusive, moving target with wonderful pocket presence. Running in a straight line will not get Drew Brees if he sees you coming.
Leon Washington and Jim Leonard are deep for the kick. High kick. And it's going to drift out of bounds short of the 50-yard line. And again, a little pushing and shoving on the near sideline. And the officials get accelerated, separated.
Like Wallace Wright, number 15, is right in the middle of it.
Oof.
Oh!
That is a vicious, vicious hit by Leon Washington.
Leon Washington trying to lull Roby to sleep, and then he just launches himself right into his face, right in front of the Saints bench.
Now Leon at 5'8", and Roby at 6 feet. He had to elevate a little bit in order to get into his face. Got away without a penalty.
Well, the whistle,
line of scrimmage, the 49.
You know, at that point, the whistle had not blown. He was just blocking. Now, I'm sure New Orleans thinks it was a cheap shot. It was in that gray area.
Direct snap to Washington to give to Brad Smith, and Smith around the right side breaks free, has a first down, and then some. Almost to the 30-yard line of the New Orleans Saints.
Well, again, Brian Schottenheimer now dialing up the Seminole directly to Leon Washington. He does a good fake like he's going left, but Brad Smith has the ball. And this former quarterback at the University of Missouri, he was a good passer, but an even better runner in college. And he's made the transition to a wide receiver, but he loves having the ball in his arm in an open field.
First down at the New Orleans 31. Once again, this time they fake it. Washington straight up the middle, just inside the 30-yard line before he takes a hit by Jonathan Vilma and Roman Harper. And you can watch Fantasy Football Today to get the last-minute news and analysis you need to set your Fantasy League lineup live every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern only on CBSSports.com. Second and 8. Sanchez gives to Jones, and Jones to about the 26. Talking with all of the Jets, they talked about they worked with noise in their ears all week long this week to prepare for the Superdome.
They said almost unbearable noise out at their training complex in New Jersey. They've got speakers on the sidelines. They had them cranked all the way up to the point where Mark Sanchez said, I look like Peyton Manning there with my hands over my ears trying to hear the call.
Sanchez, quick pass, that's complete. Inside the 20 to about the 17 is Kotchery, and that's a Jet first down.
Oh, a nice adjustment on the ball by Jericho Kotchery. Going to get a good look at it from behind here, but as you can see, that ball, instead of being in front of him, where he could have caught it in stride and really taken off, was actually behind him, and he had to do a pivot in midair. That was good, solid work by Kotchery that time.
3 catches, 27 yards for Jericho Kotchery. Brad Smith now with the direct snap. Going to roll right. Can't pitch it, keeps it, and falls forward to the 15. O'Brien Schottenheimer is just cleaning out the playbook early.
We're still in the first quarter, and 3 different people have already taken the snap for the Jets. Joe Namath might be next.
And that looks like it'll be the last play of the first quarter. As the players move down to the other end, we'll take a timeout and tell you that that is the end of the first quarter here in the Superdome in New Orleans with the score. New Orleans 3 and the Jets nothing. We're coming back to the Dome after these messages. You're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 44. Welcome back to New Orleans, everyone. With the Jets in the red zone, it's worth pointing out the New Orleans Saints have not been on the short end of the scoreboard yet all season long. Jets at the 15-yard line, 2nd and 8. Sanchez throwing, intercepted at the goal line, picked off by Darren Sharper. Sharper up the sideline. Sanchez not going to get him. This is going to be about a 98 or 99-yard return. There is a penalty marker, however, in the middle of the field.
And that penalty might be on Mark Sanchez for throwing himself into the legs.
The touchdown is good. We're in the return. Personal foul. Low block. Number 6 of the offense. 15-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff.
Well, Darren Sharper has more interceptions than any active player in the NFL, and all he did was play center field. Right there, you see Sanchez go in low on Jonathan Vilma. That's the penalty. That's the personal foul. But Darren Sharper just read the eyes all the way of Mark Sanchez. He never looked off, never looked away, and that was awfully easy.
Darren Sharper returned 197 yards at Philadelphia. That's his 4th pick of the season, and he's making it a habit of returning long ones for touchdown.
8 years with the Packers, Darren Sharper, and he's already building a Pro Bowl resume.
Carney's kick is good. 14:45 to play in the first half. The Jets threaten. Instead, it's a 10-0 New Orleans lead. Ten points. The most the Jets have trailed by all season long. 14:45 to play here in the first half. Welcome back, along with Dan Deerdorf and our CBS Sports crew, Greg Gumbel. Darren Sharper, 99 yards on the return. And this one, with the penalty added, goes into the seats. Let's go back to the touchdown.
Well, if you take, here's Darren Sharper right here. We got a 2-receiver set on the other side. Watch him just drift. He's going to drift right towards those 2 receivers, but just sit in between the 2, and then he just reads Mark Sanchez trying to get the ball into Dustin Keller. You can see Kotchery going to the inside, Keller to the outside, and so easy for Darren Sharper. And then the personal foul coming up on the left part of your screen. Here comes Mark Sanchez, who just really throws himself right into the knees of Jonathan Vilma.
We'll take timeout for an injury timeout. Lionel Hamilton gets up. We'll be back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by DirecTV. Follow your favorite team no matter where you live with NFL Sunday Ticket on DirecTV. Travelers, insurance, in sync, and by Samsung LED TV, the official HD TV of the NFL.
Darren Sharper's interception was the 8th for the Saints this year. They lead the NFL in interceptions, and of course Sharper's individual accomplishments speak for themselves.
Well, anytime your name is mentioned with Rod Woodson, you're doing pretty well.
That's his 58th career interception. It's 4th of the season.
When you're mentioned with a guy who just went into the Hall of Fame this year, you're doing all right.
So the Jets down 10 from their own 20. Thomas Jones.
Well, here we are in the 4th game of this season, and Mark Sanchez has already thrown a couple costly interceptions. This one against Houston in the opening week of the season. The fumble after the interception was picked up and run in for a touchdown, and then this one by Darren Sharper. Now, technically, only one of them constitutes an interception run back for a touchdown. The other one actually goes down as a fumble return for a touchdown, but as you could see, it was because of the INT.
That 99-yarder, a franchise record, by the way, for the Saints. Quick pass to the near side. Chooses Stuckey, and Stuckey is out of bounds at about the 27-yard line. Stuckey's first catch of the day.
Well, this is going to happen to any quarterback. It's especially tougher on a young quarterback, especially on the road, especially against a very good football team. It's just exactly the one thing. You're in the red zone. You're looking at putting points on the board. You face adversity like this. A wonderful growing lesson, learning experience here for Mark Sanchez.
3rd and 3. Sanchez throwing out here, incomplete. In and out of the hands of Dustin Keller, and the Jets will kick it away.
Well, Roman Harper, the Saints defender, here on Keller as he comes off. And I'll tell you, he makes a good play going low, but when he gets up and shoves him, he's lucky he didn't get at the end of this. As Harper gets up, he gets up and gives a little bit of a shove to Keller. He got away with it.
Reggie Bush at his own 35 for the kick from Steve Weatherford. Off the side of his foot. Number 31, Chris Reese. Did he get a hand on that? He's being congratulated on the Saints sideline. The line of scrimmage is going to be the Jet 37. That's a 9-yard punt. Bill Levy conversing about a penalty marker with a couple of his officials.
The penalty marker is about 30 yards downfield from where the punt took place.
The football never got near that marker.
No, the flag's lying all the way back at the 40-yard line.
Here's Bill Levy. No, here's Bill Levy.
During the kick, ill use of the hands to the face by the receiving team. 5-yard penalty will be enforced from the spot of a foul. First down, timeout.
We'll take a timeout. We'll be back. A reminder, Wednesdays on Showtime, the Emmy Award-winning Inside the NFL is back. JB, Phil Simms, Chris Collinsworth, Warren Sapp on the longest-running show on cable, Inside the NFL, Wednesdays on Showtime.
On the last play, because The foul was against the receiving team. It's considered a 10-yard penalty for hands to the face. So we now enforce 10 yards to the 35, first down.
Well, first of all, because this penalty occurred after the kick, it is New Orleans football, but a break for the Jets, because after that horrible punt by Weatherford that was almost blocked by Reese, they enforce the penalty 10 yards from the spot of the foul.
That's
so
almost a 30-yard gain for the New York Jets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Reggie Bush in the backfield gets the handoff, looking for running room, and come this way. Trying to turn the corner, gets a block. Drew Brees threw the block out in front of him.
There's one of the reasons that he is the undisputed leader of this football team and embraced and loved by this town. Watch from the left. Here he comes right there. Drew Brees comes in and gets a pretty nice shot on Dwight Lowry. Very, very effective. I don't think he hurt Lowry, but he took him out of the play. Lowry was able to come back and get in on it, but good hustle by Drew Brees and great awareness by Reggie Bush.
First down, New Orleans at their own 47. Brees to throw. All kinds of timing. He's going to go deep. Incomplete at the 5-yard line. Intended for Robert Meacham.
On Dwight Lowry, excellent coverage. All right, Rivas is on the outside. He's going to follow. He's in a trail position. He can see Lowry coming in from the other side, and it's a good thing that Lowry came up from underneath, because Darrelle Rivas was not in a position to make a play on Meacham. Ooh, and that's one of those plays that they probably connected on it 3 or 4 times during the week in practice.
And they say that'll work.
Yeah, well, it was good coverage there.
2nd and 10.
Kudos that time to Lowry.
This time from the shotgun. Here come the Jets. Quick pass right over the middle, and wide open is Marcus Colston for another first down.
Sean Payton told us one thing about Drew Brees. He said he decides and delivers better than anybody in the game right now. In other words, from the time the decision is made in the brain of Drew Brees to the split second that it leaves his fingertips is a very brief period of time. I always thought Dan Marino was the best I ever saw in that regard, and Drew Brees, he's getting mentions in that category.
Here's Reggie Bush. Bush bouncing outside, trying to turn the corner, and this time upended by Darrelle Rivas, number 24.
Well, that's what happens when you get too close to Rivas Island. Bad things happen to you. If you think Darrelle Rivas is nothing more than a shutdown corner, man, that's going through, going high enough to get up around the knees, and Reggie Bush tried to leap over the top of it. Darrelle Rivas, no longer a secret. Only his third year in the league, and he's in the upper echelon of NFL corners, and almost everybody knows about him.
2nd and 10 for the Saints. Brees setting up the screen, and here it is for Pierre Thomas. 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, out of bounds, short of the goal line. What a run by Pierre Thomas. David Harris saved the touchdown.
Well, Greg, this is our 3rd Jets game in a row. And one of the things about Rex Ryan's defense that I've been impressed with is that their tackling has been very, very good. And this is an instance of where their tackling was very bad. 3 separate misses along the way to a big play.
From the 1, Pierre Thomas is stepped up and doesn't reach the end zone. It'll be 2nd and goal.
Wouldn't you agree, in the games that we've seen, more often than not, the first guy there put the guy on the ground?
There has been a lot to be proud of for the New York Jet defense, and I think they're seeing a bit of a different animal here today in Drew Brees and the New Orleans offense.
Well, it's such a varied offense. So many different people participate in this. Sean Payton.
Hey, lose him.
There's not anybody in the NFL that doesn't recognize his offensive genius.
Heath Evans, Lionel Hamilton in the backfield. This is Evans, and Evans going to be stacked up short of the goal line. It'll be 3rd and goal.
Well, Sean Payton trying to get pretty cute there. Heath Evans not exactly a staple of the New Orleans running game.
And here we go. Tree still with the football. Rolling, throwing, incomplete. That's a pretty good stand by the New York Jet defense.
Well, on short notice, because I think they were surprised by Breeze getting up there and quick snapping the ball. That was sensational by the Jets defensively, covering everybody and taking away his targets.
And they're going to go for it here on 4th down. Now, the Jets have only allowed 2 offensive touchdowns all season long.
And they were both last week against Tennessee.
Evans and Hamilton again in the backfield. Play fake. Breeze throws it incomplete, and the Jets will take over.
Well, after some sloppy football to get the ball all the way inside the 10, a stellar stand by the Jets defense.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by FedEx. We understand your business could use a Dick Butkus pep talk. And by Wells Fargo Advisors. Together, we'll go far.
Welcome back to the Superdome in New Orleans. There's a final score from Cleveland, the Cincinnati Bengals in overtime, 23-20 over the Cleveland Browns. Dan, you think about it, the Bengals are a freaky tipped pass from being 4-0.
Yes, they are. And now that's a surprise.
The Jets start deep in their own end zone. Thomas Jones for a couple. Let's go back to that 4th down play.
Yeah, let's go back and take a look at it. Remember, they ran this quickly. This fella right here is a backup offensive lineman. That's Jamar Nesbitt. And he's actually an eligible receiver. He reported to the officials. And Breeze, while he wasn't his first target, ultimately tried to force the ball into him at the end when the Jets took away everybody else. That, you can't overstate what a good stand that was defensively by the guys in green.
2nd and 7. Sanchez.
Look out.
Under pressure. Got hit from behind. Loose in the end zone. Touchdown, New Orleans. Remy Adel pressed into a starting role with the injury to Kendrick Clancy. Recovered the ball in the end zone.
A quarterback has to have a clock in the back of his head. Mark Sanchez in his own end zone ultimately tries to throw the ball, but Will Smith coming from his backside strips him, and then it's just easy pickings for Adel. But again, you're looking, but you're in your own end zone. You've got to have some awareness of how long you have been there and how long can you expect your offensive lineman to keep people away.
It is known by the defense and it's known by the Jets that Mark Sanchez has been coughing it up a little too much this early part of the season.
The mistake, though, was in how long he was there, Greg. He was actually getting ready to throw it, but he just waited way too long. Well, Mark Sanchez has been struggling with the football all year. He had a fumble in their opening week against Houston. Then he gets stripped there by Mike Wright of the Patriots in week 2. Now this was just careless ball handling last week against Tennessee, and it was wet. The ball got away from him as he went to pass, and then here's the one today. Not so much careless ball handling. He was beginning his throwing motion, but just stayed back there way too long. And Greg, how about Will Smith? What kind of a start to a season is he? He had an interception in last week's game up in Buffalo, and now a strip sack in the end zone.
You see the numbers on Sanchez so far. Today, the Saints have 14 points off of his 2 turnovers. And Leon Washington will take a knee in the end zone, and the Jets will begin 1st down at their own 20-yard line. So Sanchez will come back out again. He 1 out of 3 with 8 yards and interception. And the interception return for a touchdown sacked in the fumble return against Houston. He's a rookie.
Could you have a quarterback rating in negative numbers? If it was possible, that's where it would spring up.
The rookie Sean Green is into the backfield. Third-round pick out of Iowa, gets the handoff, gets running room across the 25 to about the 28-yard line.
Well, the Jets would be served if they could do a whole bunch of this to try to just let Mark Sanchez catch his breath and get oriented once again.
Green is still in there on 2nd and 1. Brad Smith goes in motion. Green gets the handoff and gets a first down, and then some across the 35 before Charles Grant pulls him down.
You know, Sean Green is a kid that the Jets really like, and let's be realistic, they haven't exactly gotten Thomas Jones loose a great deal here in the first 4 games of the season. Jones is averaging 3.8 yards per carry, and you know, a guy that had 1,300 plus last year. They just haven't gotten it going, so give Green an opportunity.
Meanwhile, those were his first 2 carries of the season. First down. The fake, the quick pass, and Brad Smith gets hit. Tracy Porter with the knock on Smith.
Well, take my word for it. You got to be a tough guy to do this. Brad Smith knows there is contact at the end of this play. And he held on to it, got up, no complaining, just went back to the huddle. That's a pretty big hit for a couple of yards.
2nd and 6 after a 4-yard gain. Leon Washington back into the backfield for the Jets. Short drop, Sanchez pulls it down and he's going to run it. And he's out to about the 43 or 44-yard line. Anthony Hargrove with the stop.
Now, Mark Sanchez is an outstanding athlete, a guy that he will take off and run with it. Anybody who saw the Jets game a week ago well aware of that.
You know, I asked Brian Schottenheimer when we talked to him last night, is there anything in the playbook that you look at and you go, no, I don't want to let him do that? No such thing. Now Sanchez flanked to the near side of the field. The direct snap, Leon Washington gets the first down, close to midfield.
And that is a good offensive scheme. You've got 2 really different kind of guys that have the ability to take that direct snap. Leon Washington gets the bulk of it, but Brad Smith can do it as well. And again, you turn the quarterback position into a running position. You know, it's the Seminole with the Jets. It's the Wildcat with other people. It's just the old single wing. What the leather helmet guys used to run.
Sanchez on the move. Has a first down. And out of bounds inside the New Orleans 40-yard line.
Well, you can see Mark's knee brace slid down his calf. He's got to take it all the way off before he can put it back on. I'll say this. He faked the pass. Okay, now put it away, Mark.
That's not putting it away, Dan.
No, it's not. And then he's going to switch it over to his left hand and hold it out there. Not saying you got to look like a fullback for Woody Hayes with an over and under, but a little tighter to your body might be a little more secure.
As you mentioned, point of emphasis this week from the coaches,
to say the least.
First down at the 39. Thomas Jones to the 36. 5:20 to play here in the first half, and the clock is running.
Well, Sean Payton knows that he's got a good football team this year. He thinks that they have crested the hill defensively with the addition of Greg Williams as their defensive coordinator. He feels they're a much more aggressive, much more competent unit to offset what they already have, a dynamite offense.
The rookie Sean Green is back into the backfield on 2nd and 7. And he gets the handoff, looking for running room and forward to about the 32-yard line. Cedric Ellis with the stop there. There's Greg Williams.
The former coach of the Buffalo Bills, longtime defensive coordinator of the Tennessee Titans, served a little time in Washington. No one has ever disputed his ability to run a defense. He's in that upper echelon of defensive coordinators, and Sean Payton jumped at the chance to hire him.
3rd and 3. This is a 48-yard drive for the Jets to this point. Sanchez throwing out. That is complete. Washington, did he make the first down yardage?
I don't think so.
He is about a yard short at the 30. Darren Sharper came up from the safety position to make the stop.
Boy, the old man can still play football, can he? We saw that Darren Sharper can get an interception and run it the rest of the way, but how about that tackle? How about that sure tackle? After contact, Leon Washington didn't get a half a yard.
And we saw the Saints go for it on 4th down. The Jets are going to do that here at the New Orleans 30.
That'd be a 47 or 48-yard field goal.
And we get a whistle before the snap. This doesn't count.
Watch out now.
Tony Richardson taking umbrage. How do you take umbrage anyway?
Before the snap, timeout, New Orleans. That's their second charge timeout.
So that stops the clock
timeout.
with 3:23 to play here in the second half. And while we have a moment, tonight on 60 Minutes, a crook who had a Ponzi scheme like Madoff's, and now he's in jail. But unlike Madoff, he's talking about it on 60 Minutes tonight on CBS, America's most watched network.
I like Tony Richardson and Darren Sharper getting into it. A 33-year-old and a 37-year-old getting after it, huh?
You know, they'll talk about it afterwards and they go, you know, we're getting a little too old to do this.
No kidding. This is...
because the game isn't tough enough.
Well, I tell you one thing. If you're going to be an old guy, if you're going to try to pick a fight with the other old guy. Don't strap on some 23-year-old. That's a veteran player.
Go looking for somebody who's collecting pension already.
Two real veterans.
4th and 1 for the Jets at the New Orleans 30. They break the huddle with Richardson and Thomas Jones in the backfield. Sanchez fakes, rolling, has the first down as he dives to about the 27.
So difficult for a defense to account on a short yardage play like that for a quarterback who can run as well as Mark Sanchez runs. You got to play your gaps. You got everybody in there. An outstanding ball fake. There's just hardly anything you can do about it.
Roman Harper caught between a rock and a hard place, whether he should drop into coverage or pursue Sanchez. By the time he made his decision, it was too late. First down at the New Orleans 26. This is Washington trying to pick his way through the line, and comes to a halt at about the 23.
And let's just take a look at this game in general, Greg. If the Jets can get this thing into the end zone and make this a 17-7 halftime, Rex Ryan might even run into the locker room. He'll be that happy. When you consider that if his team can fight their way back to get within 10 after what's happened to them in this game on the road, he'd have to be pleased.
56-yard drive by the Jets. Play clock down to 2. They get the play off. Sanchez on the move and completes it. And just at the 20-yard line is Leon Washington.
See, this is again why the Jets and their fans are so high on Mark Sanchez. His ability to move around. Look at that. That's a total sidearm throw. That thing's almost underhand.
2 minutes to play here at the Superdome in New Orleans. We'll be right back. There's the timeout situation. Jets have 2. New Orleans has 1. 59-yard drive. 3rd and 4 for the Jets. Sanchez from the shotgun. to throw it down the sideline for Brad Smith. Tipped away by Jabari Greer, number 32.
Well, and now the Jets are going to go for 3 points. Mark Sanchez finds single coverage. There's no safety able to come over and help, but Jabari Greer on the route the whole way. Never a doubt. He's just pretty routinely able to tip it with his left hand. Unfortunately, he didn't tip it very far. It almost caromed right to Smith.
Feely, 19 straight field goals made. This from 38, make it 20 in a row. So with 1:48 to play here in the second half, the Jets dent the scoreboard. It's now New Orleans 17 and the Jets 3. And tonight on CBS.
Well, there's the story of the game, considering we have a 14-point differential between the Saints and the Jets. And Sean Payton on the other sideline right now, you know, he's not thinking conservatively. He's not thinking about just running a couple off-guard plays. When you got this guy, Drew Brees, they are what they are, which is to be aggressive.
On the plus side for Rex Ryan, he can tell his guys at halftime, hey, we finished up with a 14-play, 60-yard drive and held onto the football for 7 minutes and 12 seconds.
And that is a plus. They would have obviously preferred to finish with a touchdown, but still, to get points, just take that collective deep breath and settle down.
I'm going to guess when you have no points on the board, 3 points is a plus.
Well, when you have no points on the board, let me tell you, it makes halftime a whole lot longer if you're an offensive player.
This is Courtney Roby, and he won't run this one out, so the Saints will begin from their own 20-yard line.
Well, we saw on that last graphic about 14 points being the result of 2 Jets turnovers. There's the first one, 99 yards for Darren Sharper. Uncontested all the way down the sideline, and then Mark Sanchez just takes too long back in his own end zone. He's stripped by Will Smith, and then the recovery by Adele, and it has just been, you know, keep in mind, it's one thing to have it happen in your own territory, but that interception, when you were on your way in to come out of it with points, that's a double hit.
Drew Brees with time, throwing, incomplete at the 45-yard line. Pass intended for Marcus Colston, and number 30, Drew Coleman, was there.
Well, Marcus Colston, of course, you know, he loves playing the Jets, playing his college ball at Hofstra, where the Jets used to train. But
trained right in his backyard.
Absolutely. So, you know, he saw the Jets all the time he was in college. That was one of the rare times where he and Drew Brees, I don't think, were synced up, because Colston broke off his route, and Brees was expecting him to go deeper. And I think that was why there was an overthrow.
Short pass is complete, and out to the 25 is Jeremy Shockey. You know, talking with Drew Brees yesterday, it's pretty interesting. You know, quarterbacks often go back and find out as much about a defense as they can. He said he went all the way back to look at a Rex Ryan defense in the 06 season. Yeah,
because Baltimore put it to the Saints that day. Drew Brees and the Saints turned it over 5 different times. So that wasn't a very pleasant experience going back and watching that tape.
Again with time, throwing over the middle, and that's caught by Colston out to about the 41-yard line or so, and it'll be a first down. We are under a minute to play, and the whistle blows, and it looks like the Saints have used their 3rd and final timeout.
Boy, and Drew Brees got to sit in the pocket. We're used to seeing quarterbacks going against the Jets getting hit, knocked down, and running for their lives. Not here.
I'll remind you, coming up, the Sprint halftime report. Join JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, Coach Cowher. They'll have all the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the Sprint halftime report.
See, this was one of the issues, Greg, coming in here for the Jets defensively, was Sean Payton's team protects Drew Brees so well. He sacked only 13 times last year in a 16-game season. That was out of 635 attempts. That means the line is doing a great job, but maybe even more importantly, the quarterback is decisive and gets rid of the football.
Breeze, under pressure, got rid of it, and over the middle, incomplete. Knocked down by Darrelle Revis. That pass intended for Colston. Stops the clock with 54 seconds to play.
Well, that was a nifty little blitz there by the Jets. Ran a little loop at the last minute. Take a look at it here on the lower right portion of your screen. See Bart Scott, how he loops back to the inside. He's intended to go upfield, and then at the last minute, he loops into that void and gets the hit on Breeze. Boy, there's a lot to like about Bart Scott.
2nd and 10. Remember, the Saints are out of timeouts. Breeze with time, throws near side, and just off the fingertips of Heath Evans. That's a catchable ball. It's 3rd and 10. Talk about tough football players, Dan. We talked to Jim Leonard last night. Remember when he walked into the room and none of us could believe? I mean, the numbers say 5'8", 186, but...
Well, by NFL terms, even if that's accurate, 5'8", 186 is awfully small. And he looks smaller than that.
Man,
he won't be happy to hear us say that.
Hard-nosed as they come. Play clock down to 1. And
Breeze,
he doesn't have any timeouts to burn.
Yeah, so he can signal on
5-yard penalty,
delay a game.
3rd down.
There's Jim Leonard.
What I talked earlier about the addition of he and Bart Scott and what a real wonderful thing that has been for the Jets defense. They've been coaches on the field, but their performance on the field, and Leonard, of course, has a very good punt returner. You saw the difference in the game last week. Tennessee couldn't return a punt. Leonard's very good at it.
Rex Ryan came over from Baltimore and dragged Jim Leonard along with him. Tree's going to go deep. Incomplete. Intended for Devery Henderson, and Dwight Lowry was right alongside.
Well, Dwight Lowry has had a very active first half. Remember, he's starting for Lito Shepherd, and he's done a pretty good job so far. Donald Strickland inactive today as well, the normal nickelback. He's got a bad ankle.
Worth pointing out, Dan, the Saints offense has 3 points on the board today. The defense has put up 14. Here's Leonard. And the fair catch is made at the 25-yard line. With 36 seconds to play in the first half, Jets with the ball and 2 timeouts.
Well, there's Chris Jenkins, a real leader on this team and a real established NFL veteran with 9 years. And that's what a leader does. That's what that's a veteran play right there.
As if you're not going to listen to a guy with arms that big.
Well, first of all, when you put an arm that big on his shoulder, your knees buckle to start with. But really, that was that's a classy thing. That's a real pro. That's the way a pro acts.
From their own 25, the Jets with 36 seconds and 2 timeouts. Sanchez under pressure and holds onto it and goes down at the 20. Charles Grant.
Well, the Saints had 8 guys on the line of scrimmage and then dropped 4 of them. And they get in there with only a 4-man rush. That's very disappointing.
Sanchez. This is Washington, and Washington at about the 23-yard line. Loose football, but the whistle is blown.
And I think that'll do it.
Time runs down here in the first half. It has been a New Orleans day so far. At the end of the first half, New Orleans leading at 17-3. Back with the Spread halftime report after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 44.